Good morning, you're welcome to News Morning here on TV3. I am Enyunam Haliga. Coming up this morning. Narcotics Control Commission arrests Ghanaian suspect in the $208 million Australian methamphetamine scandal after joint security operation. Also in this bulletin, the Education Ministry to recruit some 7,000 more teachers after their release of their application review. And much later, the ECOWAS court dismisses former Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Tokonu's case against Ghana over her removal from office. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to a first story now where the lead shipper, a Ghanaian national in the $208 million Australian methamphetamine scandal, has been arrested. According to the Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, Brigadier General Maxwell Obuba Mante, the operation took 3 nights in collaboration with the Bureau of National Investigation and other security agencies.
Let me inform you that I'm aware that you all know of the Australian methamphetamine saga. Through the efforts of Narcotics, in collaboration with the Bureau of National Investigation and other security agencies, I'm happy to announce that we have picked the lead shipper. We did that over 3 nights. My officers slept out of their homes for 3 months and successfully picked the person who led that enterprise. We'll be picking more. Whoever is involved, like I always say, it is only God and the courts that can free you. We'll get to the bottom of this enterprise and make sure that Ghana will not be declared as a narco state. It is our determination that after the World Drugs Day on Friday, we are going to go out and hunt for those whose activity or whose business is to just sell drugs to destroy our young ones. Like my deputy always says, this is just the grace period. If you know you are involved in it, I'm only advising you because we will come after you. And nobody, and I say nobody, apart from God and the courts, who can free you.
Still on narcotics, the Narcotics Control Commission has destroyed 46.89 kilograms of cocaine, 9.6 tons of cannabis, and 130 boxes of hemp-related products following a court destruction certificate. My colleague George Queenan reports that the illegal substances were intercepted from 2011 to 2026.
Some of the illegal substances were intercepted as far back as 2011. 19 parcels of cannabis were intercepted in 2011 after being concealed in an abandoned duffel bag. The seizure was made by a team of national security operatives at Aflao. On September 18, 2014, 179 wrappers of cannabis were also intercepted by officers stationed at the airport cargo section. These substances had been concealed in branded boxes intended for export. On December 11, 2025, 171 bottles of shampoo infused with cannabis, 352 bottles of conditioner infused with cannabis, 696 tubes of toothpaste infused with cannabis, and 384 bottles of mouthwash infused with cannabis were intercepted at Adabraka. In all, the illegal substances destroyed included 9.6 tons of cannabis, 46.89 kilograms of cocaine, 2,734 bottles of cannabis-laced drinks, 130 boxes of hemp-related products, and other illicit substances. The Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, Brigadier General Maxwell Obuba Mante, explained that the drug trade will be made increasingly unfavorable and warned potential dealers to reconsider their involvement.
Before we sought court clearance, we had officials from Ghana Standards Authority come to the commission. They inspected, weighed, and tested the products that were earmarked for destruction. After that, we listed them and sent them to the courts for approval. And when that was granted, Ghana Standards Authority came back here again to test them to be sure that the drugs were what we were authorized to destroy. They weighed them, packaged them, and ensured that what they did corresponds with what we have here.
He further stated that Ghana remains resolute in denying drug traffickers and criminal networks the profit derived from illicit drug activities.
We are responsible for fighting illicit drugs throughout the country and across everywhere in the country. If we have, most of operations are intelligence-led. Wherever we get information, irrespective of the location, we will come there. We may be forced to break protocols and enter those places because we cannot allow just few individuals to destroy the future of this country. And so please take note. And as the lawyers will say, notice is hereby served that we will come after you.
NARCOC has warned that Ghana will not become a narcotic state. According to the Narcotics Control Commission, NARCOC, these destroyed items represent thousands of doses that could have fueled addiction, destroyed families, endangered young people, and strengthening criminal network. George Queening, TV3 News, Bondase, Accra.
Moving on to some education-related stories, and the Ministry of Education has called for calm among teachers who have applied for recruitment. According to the ministry, by Tuesday, June 30, the review process will be completed, paving the way for the recruitment of some 7,000 teachers from the more than 40,000 applicants. My colleague Daniel Opoku has filed this report.
The wait has been long, and for thousands of teachers across Ghana, it has been agonizing. 3 months ago, the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service opened the portal for teacher recruitment. The response was overwhelming, with more than 40,000 teachers submitting applications, but only 7,000 will be recruited, as that is the number cleared by the Ministry of Finance. That leaves tens of thousands of qualified educators still on the sidelines, at a time when Ghana's classrooms are already grappling with a teacher deficit estimated at between 50,000 and 90,000, a shortage that continues to affect the quality of education delivery nationwide. Since the portal closed, applicants have been raising urgent concerns. They want clarity on when the recruitment process will be completed. They want assurance that the selection process will be fair, transparent, and free from favoritism. The Ghana Education Service says the wait is almost over. By June 30, the review of applications will be completed. By July 20, the short list will be announced, and by August 31, onboarding will begin at the regional and district levels. Press Secretary to the Minister of Education, Hashmin Mohammed, has assured teachers that the process will be fair.
The process has been very, very meticulous, because if you have a lot of candidates applying for such limited vacancy, you need to put in a lot of due diligence in order to be able to get the right applicants for the job. But let me put it on record that this will not be the first or the last recruitment exercise. As and when the Finance Ministry issue another recruitment to the ministry will announce again for other people to apply.
By next Tuesday, the review process will be finalized, and Ghana's classrooms will soon welcome 7,000 new teachers.
Qualified teachers will be recruited, and we are also targeting the rural areas where there are not many teachers. 7,000 that we are recruiting, that is what the Ministry of Finance issued to the ministry.
The Minister of Education is calling for calm among applicants, urging patience as the process nears completion.
Moving on to some other stories now, as district assemblies across the Greater Accra region have begun pulling down structures believed to be situated on waterways and drainage reservation following the recent floods that hit parts of the capital. Authorities say the exercise is necessary to protect lives, clear blocked drains, and prevent another disaster when the rains return. A report by Joseph Armstrong.
The Dakobi River in the Lankwantena Madina Municipal Assembly has for years seen parts filled with sand and debris to create space for buildings and other structures. But after the recent floods that hit the capital, the Assembly says it can no longer allow such development to continue. On Wednesday, June 24, the Assembly moved in to clear the area and pull down structures said to be sitting on the waterway. Among the structures demolished was a church, as well as several buildings' foundations that had been laid close to or directly within the path of the river. Officials say the encroachment had reduced the space for water to flow freely, increasing the risk of flooding whenever there is heavy rainfall. As part of the exercise, the Dakobi River was also desilted. This is to open up the channel and allow water to flow without obstruction. The Lankwantena Madina Municipal Chief Executive, Ibrahim Fila, says the demolition exercise will not end here.
We are moving from here to Oyarifa, to Ghana Flag, and then gravel pits. Yes, we are going there to ensure that all those encroaching the road, waterways, will bring everything to its finality.
He says many buildings identified on waterways will be pulled down as the assembly works to protect lives and property.
This area is a water reserve, but because of human mentality, we choose to fill it, thinking that we can do some other work over there, forgetting the problem that it will cause the other inhabitants.
But for affected persons, the demolitions comes with pain, loss and uncertainty. Some are losing places of worship, others are losing investment they had started building. Still, authorities insist the cost of inaction will be greater if the rains return and the waterways remain blocked.
The research starts by our own psyche, our own mentality. We should psych our own mind. For instance, I'll be here. Perhaps what they are doing, demolition of things, I may not be okay with it because I've spent some capital financial support in it. But it doesn't mean that because of my financial expenditure, the wrong thing should continue.
Some residents have expressed concern over the ongoing demolitions.
Formerly, about 8 years, I came here, there's no flood to our end. But during the time they fill the reservoir, where the water come out, come and warriors for our houses.
Yeah, it will make the flood go away because if here right now, if rain fall here, you know if it pass here.
The demolition forms part of a wider push by district assemblies across the capital to clear waterways after the recent floods. Authorities say the aim is to prevent another disaster, but residents are asking for fairness, proper notice, and stronger enforcement before structures are allowed to reach this stage. Joseph Armstrong, Good TV3, Accra.
The ECOWAS Community Court has dismissed the case of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Tokonu, challenging her removal from office. The ECOWAS Court, in its ruling, dismissed all her reliefs, citing that no evidence or bias or motivation of ill will by the committee that heard her petition or the decision of the president to remove her from office.
There has never been a hearing for the removal of the Chief Justice. One would therefore have hoped that if such a process becomes necessary, it would provide good guidance and precedent for nation building. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country.
Gertrude Tokonu escalated her case to the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice following her dismissal and adjudication of her challenge at Ghana's Supreme Court. The ECOWAS Community Court of Justice had previously dealt with preliminary objections by the state and procedural applications in the case and scheduled to give its final judgment in the matter. Justice Tokonu's reliefs, 7 in number, among other things, argued that she was denied access to a judicially reasoned opinion of the prima facie determination, as well as the inquiry committee report. Delivering its ruling, the court held that Ghana did not violate the former Chief Justice's rights to a fair hearing. The court consequently dismissed all the relief she sought, including her request for reinstatement and compensation of $10 million for alleged moral and reputational damage. The unanimous decision of the ECOWAS court reasoned that her suspension from office by the president did not violate her right to work. The court also explained that the decision of the committee to rely on only one petition was not irregular because the remaining 2 withdrew theirs once the first one succeeded. Although there are pending suits challenging the removal processes of Justice Gertrude Araba Tokonu in Ghana's courts, the decision by the ECOWAS court effectively ends a challenge at the International Human Rights Court. Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Young African women have been challenged to embrace innovation, develop leadership skills, and position themselves as key drivers of the continent's future. The initiative, dubbed Women Who Build, brought together female entrepreneurs, innovators, and industry leaders to share their experiences and inspire the next generation of changemakers.
Female founders, innovators, creatives, and ecosystem leaders gathered in Accra for this year's edition of Women Who Build, a platform designed to connect, empower, and elevate women shaping Africa's future. The event provided an opportunity for participants to engage in candid discussions on entrepreneurship, leadership, technology, and the realities of balancing business growth with family responsibilities. Hosted by Google Ghana, the program highlighted the resilience, innovation, and impact of women who are breaking barriers and creating opportunities within their communities. Speakers encouraged young women to embrace technology, build solutions to societal challenges, and take advantage of emerging opportunities in the digital economy.
We should be okay with saying, hey, I need an investor, I need capital, I need resources, versus just trying to figure it out. Oftentimes we just kind of scrape by and do what we can, but be okay taking up space and saying what you need.
The discussions come at a time when Ghana is seeking to strengthen its position as a leader in artificial intelligence and digital innovation, following the launch of the country's national artificial intelligence strategy. Industry experts emphasize the need for more women to actively participate in science, technology, and entrepreneurship to help shape the continent's future.
Just believe in themselves and understand that they have exactly what they need to acquire anything that they want. We are skilled, we are talented, we are multifaceted, we are all those things, and so just go for it.
And that's how we end News Morning here on TV3. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Paliga. New Day continues.
Hello, my name is Pamela from Customer Service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabadim.
Madam, give me the numbers behind your ATM card. I'm calling from the head office.
An email was delivered across to our customers this morning.
Confirm if this is your bank account. 100,100,100.
Thanks for sending bank card details.
Send the OTP now.
hope that you had a wonderful night. You're doing well. We have a very juicy show for you this morning and would love that you stay with us. We're going to start off with what we have on the menu this morning. There's a whole lot to choose from, but here you don't choose, you consume all of it. You consume everything that we give you right here on TV3 Newday. Now, starting off with what we'll be discussing for the big issue, take us through it, Auntie B. I know that we are talking about ECOWAS's dismissal of Gertrude Tokono's case. The implications, we are taking a look at it for the future.
Yeah. I mean, this is a case that has been running since her suspension. And, I mean, she went to the High Court here in Accra and eventually went to the ECOWAS Community Court. And a decision has been made dismissing all the 7 claims that she put before the court, in addition to the demand for $10 million.
US dollars. They didn't for damages cost her reputation, herself, and all of that. $10
million.
Wow.
They didn't think that she had to get that because they had dismissed all the cases, I mean, all the petitions that she filed before the court. So we'll be looking at it because this is a really constitutional issue. So what are the implications for, you know, future cases and what we need to learn from this at the end of the day. And then yesterday we also had Narcotics giving us information about arresting the kingpin in the methamphetamine case. Yes, so we'll be looking at that as well. What I'm learning is that it's not just the person who shipped it here and concealed it in the charcoal. You know, it was intercepted in Australia. The person who was supposed to receive, a 34-year-old British actress, has also been arrested and is currently facing the court. So really what this means for our systems here, because we couldn't intercept it here, it was intercepted in Australia. We'll be looking at all of that and what this means for drug use. And I think after the big issue as well, there's going to be another
discussion on drug abuse with the Narcotics Control Board. It's actually a canker that must be nipped in the bud immediately. It disturbed me a lot when news came, or the fallout from the security recruitment. We remember those 6,000 people who were disqualified because of drug use and mental health issues. It disturbed me a lot. And just imagine that some way, somehow, if we did not find out about that, and some of these people made it into the security services, can you imagine what would be happening?
And even the fact that these people would could potentially have arms, what that means.
What that means for the country. So we'll be taking a look at that. So please stay with us. But of course, we'll be taking some sports updates as well. A lot of countries, or a number of countries, have made it to the round of 32. I think South Africa has made it as well. Brazil, I am sure, has made it. A number of games were played yesterday, and we are waiting for ours on Saturday. I think we are halfway through already, but it would also depend on our performance with Croatia on Saturday. So we'll be bringing you all the sports updates as well as other things that make our show very juicy this morning. Kwame Nkrumah Botu, Communications Director for the United Party, will be here this morning. Kwesi Botwe Jr., Secretary, NPP Security and Defense Committee, and then Alassane Fatau, MP, Yendi, member of the NDC, will also be here this morning. So we'll be taking a look at a number of issues, especially when we get to this morning segment. We'll be taking a look at the dashboard and the fallout, of course, from the dismissal from the ECOWAS court regarding Gertrude Tokono's. So she had a number of reliefs that she was seeking. So all 7 of them have been dismissed and thrown out. But now I'm not sure if she's going to pursue this case again, because that was the crescendo that she was taking it to. And if you've reached this height, they've thrown all of it away. The question is, what now?
I mean, we've had some lawyers already talking, saying that they think it's the end of the case. But as to whether or not really she and her advisors would believe that this is truly the end of the case, well, that would depend on them.
All right. Welcome to the show and welcome to this morning's segment.
court considers that the respondent fulfilled its obligation by affording the applicant an opportunity to submit written responses to the petition, not only before the presidential determination of whether a prima facie case existed, but before her right to be heard crystallized at the hearing of the committee. Accordingly, the court finds that the respondent did not violate the applicant's right to be heard under Article 7 of the African Charter. Regarding the issue whether the failure of the president to present provide a reasoned decision in the support of the prima facie determination violates the applicant's right to fair hearing, the court reiterates its earlier observations that prima facie determination is a filtering mechanism rather than a judicial or quasi determination of rights of an individual, to which guarantees of Article 7 of the African Charter, including the right to reasoned decision, apply. The allegation in that regard is therefore dismissed. The court notes that matters relating to the procedure of national courts or tribunal, quasi-judicial bodies, as well as the competence or compatibility of witnesses, compellability of witnesses to testify, are issues that are primarily regulated by national laws of member states. Even that issues related to whether the petitioner ought to have testified and which rules of procedure should have been applied by the committee are matters of Ghanaian law, over which the court has neither original nor appellate jurisdiction. The court considers that they fall outside its mandate and they are accordingly dismissed. In view of the foregoing, the court concludes that the applicant was not denied the right to fair hearing under Article 7 of the African Charter in the President's determination of prima facie case, and also that the committee, and also before the committee appointed to determine the petition against her. The issue for determination, the first issue for determination is thereby dismissed. The second issue for determination is whether, contrary to Article 7 of the African Charter, the committee set up to determine the petition against the committee was not competent and impartial tribunal. On this issue, the applicant submits that the composition of the committee inquiry was defective,
There you have it, fallout from the ECOWAS Community Court dismissing all the reliefs that Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono was seeking. Now, of course, Beatrice, you're about the dashboard and you've got updates for us.
Yeah.
What exactly do you have?
So let me just remind us that Gertrude Tokono, even before all of these cases came up, of course, she was sworn into office on the 12th of June 2023, and this case was brought against the petition by Daniel Ofori in March 2025. And subsequently, a committee was set up to look at it. A prima facie case was established, and eventually, by April, she was suspended. And we do know that she went to the High Court here to challenge this whole issue, especially after her press conferences as well, describing how bad it was and even accusing the government of a number of things, including the lodge where she was sent to during the hearings and all of those, her family not being allowed and all of that. Remember that amongst the things that the committee established were the fact that apparently she was on 2 trips with a husband and with a daughter, and she used state resources for those holidays that she had. And one of the things the committee also said was that apparently there was a transfer that was done by one Daniel. I mean, she transferred that person, and they didn't think that it was right constitutionally. And so eventually, like I said, she went to the High Court in Ghana, and then when she was not satisfied, a case that people think that wasn't the right thing to do, I mean, those who criticize it, because they felt that she could have exhausted the internal processes here, but she went ahead and went to the ECOWAS Community Court and sought some reliefs as well. And yesterday, as we're all aware, we heard the ECOWAS Community Court giving the ruling, as it were, on the cases that she brought before before it. And we had Deputy AG, Attorney General Justice Remsai, giving us an update actually, and as you can see, telling us that the ECOWAS Community Court just minutes ago dismissed all of the 7 claims which the former Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Gertrude Tokonu, brought against Ghana, and he calls it our beloved country. And she thought that her reputation had been damaged, her human rights had been breached, and so it was the reason she thought that she needed to go to the court. And as I did say, the court already dismissed that. Well, he went on to say that in respect of her ladyship's claim for $10 million damages, the court held that, quote, in light of the court conclusions that Ghana has not violated any of the applicant's rights under the African Charter as alleged, the court makes no decision on reparations. Exactly. And so that's basically what transpired. And of course, he thanking everybody for what has been done so far and what's been achieved. And so in the course of the big issue, we'll be going into some of the nitty-gritties, what she presented and what the court eventually found. In fact, one of the things the court even said was Gertrude Tokonu had said in her argument that they used only one petition to remove her. Right. And the court said that it was not irregular for a single petition to be used to remove her from office. And so that's basically what we've seen. So let me perhaps bring you
So I'm sure you're starting with the reliefs that she sent to the ECOWAS Community Court,
yes,
right?
But we'll start from the point of the Community Court, what it said. And it said the suspension and removal from office were arbitrary and in violation of her right to a fair hearing and due process. Okay, so this is actually
exactly
her
the
case,
reliefs that she was seeking.
Article 7 of the African Charter. And I just mentioned that ECOWAS dismissed that because he didn't think that her rights were breached, as it were. And then she went on to say the inquiry committee was illegally constituted and affected by bias. And in that press conference that she held or addressed, she actually mentioned it, that it wasn't right. And she actually used the expression that it was the first hearing towards the removal of a CJ that Ghana was having, and she felt that it would be an example for precedence. But she didn't think that it was so, because in her view, unfortunately, this was already biased. So that's what she meant in that case. Again, she was denied access to a judiciary reasoned opinion of the prima facie determination and the inquiry committee report in violation of her rights to information. You remember that she had issues with Justice Gabriel Kwaman, the chair of that committee that was instituted to look into this matter. And also the process violated her right to dignity and protection from arbitrary treatment. Now, if you watched the hearing yesterday, we heard the judges saying that because she is a public official, she's supposed to subject herself to the highest scrutiny. And so they didn't think that the case, you know, being in the public domain violated her rights as such. And then the removal violated her right to work, and she cited Article 15. The court also disagreed with that, didn't think that it really breached her right. And the conduct of the respondent breached the principle of his pendants, and then compensation for 10 million for moral and reputational damages. And I just said earlier that the court also denied that. And the government of Ghana via committee fulfilled its obligations of fair hearing.
So now you have gotten to the ECOWAS court's decision. So these are the decisions that came out yesterday. These are the decisions, yes. Okay. All right.
And
so
then
let's take that one.
Goes on to say that the government did not violate the applicant's right to be heard under Article 7 of the African Charter. And yes, so I think the others have already said. So basically, this is what the court said. But again, I was saying earlier that already there are comments coming in indicating that perhaps this should be the final case, as it were, for her. But again, it would depend on the government and I mean, it would depend on Gertrude Tokonu and
herself,
her lawyers, exactly. Yesterday, we had some members of parliament, both on the side of the MPP and on the side of the NDC, giving different, views regarding this very ruling. Obviously, the MP on the side of the MPP thought that it was a disappointing ruling, as it were, but we heard the NDC also say that this case was actually dead on arrival because of some of the things that were already put in there. And so, yes, prima facie case determination did not violate fair hearing principle. It is a filtering mechanism, what the court is saying. And then ground without merit, only court in Ghana that have jurisdiction over procedural matters of quasi-judicial bodies. And so this is where the court also said that there were certain issues that were very domestic that the court as an appellant body did not have jurisdiction over. And so they didn't have to decide on that and then decline to review merit of the committee's finding due to lack of jurisdiction. And that's the point I just made. Suspension from office by president did not violate the applicant's right to work. The application was not unfairly and arbitrarily removed the applicant from office as CJ of Ghana. And the decision to focus on single petition for her removal was not irregular. That was the point I made earlier, that the court disagreed with that. And the court also rejecting arguments that bodily search, failure to have family present during hearing, and choice of venue were a violation of her right to dignity. And that was a major point Gertrude Tokonu, at the time she held her press conference, made, and talked about the abuse and even the psychological trauma she had to go through because of this very thing she said she went through. And then the court held bodily search was reasonable and proportionate, and applicant did not make an official request for committee report. Hence, the court does not find her rights were violated. And so, in conclusion, if you thought that your rights were violated, you could have also asked for the committee's report. And so, basically, that's what the ECOWAS court is telling us now. And we look forward to really what would be happening at the end of the day with that.
It all depends on her.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, this was the highest court she desired to take it to, and eventually took it to. And if they thrown out all the seven reliefs, I don't know what next.
Yeah.
But our guest will be here this morning to let us know exactly what could be the next step after this one. But your messages are already coming in. Humadosi Chope on Facebook has sent one already. Please send your messages. We'll read as many as we can this morning. And Humadosi Chope says, the ECOWAS court's decision to dismiss Tokonu's application shows that the legal system is capable of applying the law irrespective of a person's position or status. It demonstrates the importance of due process and reinforces the principle that no individual, whether powerful or ordinary, is above the law. My regards to Wanda Victor Kuto Kabila and Honorable Fred Kwesi Agbenyo, MP for the Gwan constituency. Humado Sichope, thank you for your message. Please send them. I'll read them. I'll read as many of them as I can. Anything for us?
Yes, there are still more comments here, but I want us to go to Parliament because I was saying earlier that yesterday we had some members of the House talking to us, giving us their reactions regarding this very ruling. Christian Yale is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. He was in the House to bring us that.
From the moment Gertrude Tokonu was suspended until when the 5-member Puaman Committee released its report for her removal, and even after that, the issue took a center stage in Parliament, especially from the minority side, who protested it and later filed a motion to suspend the vetting of current Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni. They argued that Parliament shouldn't have vetted Justice Bafuboni while the court cases challenging the removal of former CJ Gertrude Tokonu were pending. This did not receive favor, but they would later boycott the vetting of Justice Bafuboni, having relayed the same concerns. Today, the ECOWAS court has delivered its verdict. A minority MP from Kwabre East disagrees with the dismissal of CJ Tokonu's case.
And basis the fact that this has never happened before in the history of our country. It was putting, the justice system into jeopardy. And so I was expecting a better response from ECOWAS, at least to see her case, try it and let us know that, justice is being pursued. If even the external courts did not grant the reliefs that she sought, I don't see how, internal courts here will do any justice to what she's seeking.
A member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Fifi Bachman, is not surprised by the ruling, but holds that CJ Tokonu did not have a case from the onset.
You have always maintained from the beginning of the case that Justice Tokonu had no case. It is after you have exhausted local remedies that you go to the international court. You remember that the Attorney General filed a preliminary objection which was put aside, and the court said that we are going to take over the matter. So it is done. It is finished.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection says government has rolled out a tax exemption for school feeding caterers to ease financial pressure on them and also enhance the delivery of the program.
One of the other things that we are also we've also done, and we are hoping that it will go a long way to relieve the caterers, is to take out that tax component that is in the payment of the caterers, so that they will have a bit more relief in terms of the money they receive and then how they prepare the nutritious meals and then feed the children. So yes, there's cost implication anytime quality arises.
That report from Parliament, of course, bring us an update there from the Gender Ministry. But still on this case, just to bring you an idea of the judges who are looking at the case here in Ghana, His Lordship Justice Amadou Tanko, His Lordship Justice Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi, His Lordship Justice Henry Anthony Kofi, and His Lordship Justice Senyo Jamepe. So we do know that there are also a number of cases as well. We know of the Pankrono MP, Asefwa, who also took the case to court as well. And we know a few other individuals who equally went to court, all on this matter, challenging the constitutionality of the removal of the then Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Tokonu. And we know that some of the cases have the next month, as in July, to have ruling on, particularly the one at the High Court. We understand the ruling might be on the 1st or 2nd, let me just verify that, of next month. But these are the judges that you're looking at who will be looking into this very case. And yes, and we'll look forward to what they may come out with. But again, if you've got your comments, you can send them to us as we read them to you.
A few here. Kwame Acidity says, good morning, both of you. We thank God that the ECOWAS court has dismissed former Chief Justice Tokonu's claims. Tokonu should give us a break. Special greetings to Chairman Sadiq, incoming Health Original organizer. And Bismarck Mensa on Facebook says the case between Apenyo Marking and the speaker exposed her big time. During her time, it was as if NDC didn't present a good case before her. Prudential Livingston says, hey, Lady Tokonu's case dismissed by ECOWAS court. And then he adds laughing emojis and says, didn't I warn this woman to stop all her gra-gra and go peacefully? Hey, $10 million compensation, you be thief, and shame on you. Well, no matter what you do, how loud you shout, or wherever you take this to, the law is the law, and it is the law. You are leaving with shame. So sad for listening to bad counsel, Atasa. So that came in from Prudential Livingston. Send in your messages. Abubila Godwin says, good morning, Beatrice and Cookie. Okay, you are reminding me that the Binduri people are waiting for me. Okay, the law of karma still implies Honorable Abagri Bartholomew Agog is the incoming NDC chairman for Binduri constituency. All right, we'll hear you on that one.
And let me read
okay.
Yes, some more coming in here. Prince Henry Kuforidia says, good morning, Queen Beatrice. Gertrude Tokonu chose politics over the law when she was the CJ and must dance to her Agbaja tunes because she can't chew her cake and have it back. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Prince Henry Koforidia. Assist on, I don't know whether you read that already.
He sent in a long one.
Okay,
yeah.
But he sent a second one which says the government or His Excellency John Mahama has been vindicated by the ECOWAS court. All the 7-count dismiss clearly shows how weak and incompetent her leadership was. There's also one from Simon Yen in Wa, Upper West Region, says, good morning, Beatrice and Cookie. Now that all the so-called supposed injustice issues raised by Justice Tokonu have been dismissed by the ECOWAS court, what is the implication for the concerns of Justice Sofa Akufo and the minority over Tokonu's removal? On the Narcotics move, I say well done and urge them to intensify their activities. Can you imagine the havoc on the fabrics of the society if all these substances were consumed? And say, good morning, Beatrice. This is coming from, okay, you didn't add your name, but you say, I would like to use this golden opportunity to congratulate. Okay, I'm sorry, you're not commenting on the matter being discussed. And this is coming from Chachuchi Kata Jr., Wa West constituency. Says, good morning, Cookie T and Beatrice Edu. The ECOWAS court's dismissal of the Tokonu claims, finding no rights violations, vindicate what we as the NDC have maintained all along. Due process was followed and the rule of law upheld. This judgment has cleared the name of our strategic and hard-working President John Mahama, who has consistently acted within the bounds of the law and in the best interest of Ghana. Abbas Offenso says, Madam Tokonu should simply go on and stand for the national, women's organizer of the NPP. Good morning, Beatrice and Cookie. This is coming from Evans Samba Laura. Says, good morning, Beatrice and Cookie. When I first heard about this court ruling, I thought everybody removed her from another row somewhere again. Truth is, I believe those who advised her to go there ill-advised her. Thank you for your message. Stephen Penn, also says, good morning, Beatrice and Cookie. As a layman, I advised Tokonu to accept her dismissal, but her advisors thought otherwise. Now she has yet another embarrassment at the ECOWAS court. I hope she will not go to the African court or further to The Hague. Tokonu, the law is the law. A number of you sending in your messages. Thank you for your messages. And yes, you can call in.
I have some as well.
Okay.
We'll be moving to our second topic about the narcotics, but let me take a few messages here. Kwesi Mensah says, so Madam Tokonu wants USD 10 million to chop as the damage of what exactly? Every right person will know that the Justice Tokonu doesn't have any case from the beginning, or she didn't have a case from the beginning. I believe her next step is to see the NPP. Oh, I think you read that one, right? Okay. And Courage Kotuka says, the ECOWAS court was right to dismiss the case brought by the former Chief Justice. It is surprising that she chose to seek a ruling from the ECOWAS court instead of having faith in the very judicial system she once presided over here in Ghana. And M. Rudiger says the country is moving on smoothly. She should let us rest. Kenneth Sela Yusuf says, Cookie, good morning. I think Justice Tokonu is feeling entitled as if Ghana is her property. She should go and contest for women's organizer of the NPP. All right. I think I've read that one already. Okay, so the rest are a lot more of birthday messages. We'll get to birthdays in no time. But Boogie Brown, did you read that one?
No.
Cookie and Beatrice, you see the greed of the black person after assuming the highest seat of the judicial system and failing to ensure fair human rights of the ordinary Ghanaian in our various judicial services. She wants to claim damages at 10 million in total, aside all the privileges and allowances she earned as a public servant. Does she want to say she didn't see the mismanagement and corruption that bedeviled the former administration for the past 8 years they held onto power? Elsewhere in developed countries, they would have resigned, but the typical Ghanaian will still stay in office because they always bend the law
to favor them. Okay.
There's Kalio Manwa says, good morning, Beatrice. Justice Tokonu, former Chief Justice, should go to AU court, and if she loses, she should go to the World Court.
Hey.
If there is any. The law is the law. That's from Kalio Man. And there is Master Planner Junior Policy Analyst Kintampo. He says, if Tokonu is MPP National Women's Organizer, then Chief Justice Bafuboni is NDC. Okay, he is now leading the delegation to events. Ghanaians are watching closely. Just give some time. That's coming from Master Planner Junior. And there is also a message coming in from Alhaji Bini Yuri Bonshele, the incoming constituency communications officer for Savaligo. He says, good morning, Beatrice and Cookie, and to Roland Walker as well. He says, my greetings to Shamima Muslim, and says that Beatrice, former sacked Chief Justice, she demanding, I'm sorry, I'm struggling to read your message. She demanding $10 million, even one peso she will not get. Hey. It's okay, thank you very much, Alhaji, for sending in your message. Fakakiwa also says the ECOWAS court's dismissal of former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu's claims of rights breaches shows unequivocally that due process has run its course. Though appreciating the court's power and the rule of law, the matter is resolved and it's time to move on. The law is the law. Okay. It is finished. From Fakakiwa. Thank you for sending in your messages.
We'll be shifting our attention to our next topic for discussion this morning, but a few birthday messages coming in. Roland, we miss you. Good morning. And I hope that you are doing well. He sent one. It says, you have to read it all. Roland, I'm reading it for you. Happy 10th birthday to Davina Del Enyo Agashi. You are loved dearly. It's from your mom, Delight Delzi, here in Accra. So happy birthday to you, Davina Del Enyo Agashi. You're actually 10 years old. It's a cute picture that's here, but I'm sure when it gets to birthdays, yes, we'll do it. Yeah. Rhonda is a very faithful, regular watcher of TV3 Newday, and she has the same birthday as Drea. Okay. Her child Drea. Drea and Rhonda Shao, happy birthday. This one is a special one from me to the two of you and the entire family. They always watch TV3 Newday before they go to school and before Rhonda goes to work. Rhonda, thank you for the love. You have been amazing, and I wish you all of God's blessings today on your special day. I think I saw one birthday message too from here that says that Cookie, I think I just missed that one, but I'll find it and I'll read it. But Lawrence Gota says, good morning, Cookie. You people realize that ever since what? You allowed MPP to TV3 platforms, your station is not coming clear again. I don't understand what that means, because I know we are nationwide. So specify which region or where you are that you are not receiving the feed clearly. But Bismarck Mensah says, I feel sad for her. Can we allow her to enjoy her retirement benefits, though? She has worked for 30 years, served the state. The least we can do is allow her to enjoy her benefits. We beg the president to have mercy on her. She brought all these problems on herself. Okay. Do you have more messages?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I found the birthday one. Money says, Cookie T, please wish Josephine AC Pipitha a happy birthday for me. So Josephine AC, happy birthday to you. I think I read this one from Humado Sichope already. I'll look for more messages, but yes, we are talking about narcotics this morning. Yes. We saw them burning some of the substances yesterday. You want to give us updates on that one?
So basically we had the NACOC, of course, together with the Ghana Standards Authority burning some items, and we had the NACOC Director General telling us how they had to get that certificate from the court and ensure that the Ghana Standards Authority was equally there, because sometimes the allegation is that when they have these substances and they burn them, people feel that they go to burn the fake ones and then keep the original ones. So they needed to have Ghana Standards Authority to certify that even before the burning, and they did that. And of course, he used that opportunity to warn all people involved in the drugs trade that NACOC and all other agencies responsible will come for them. And so they should be on standby because they are working hard to ensure they stop the drugs trade. But also coming in addition to the fact that the main or the kingpin involved in the Australia methamphetamine case has also been arrested. And I was saying earlier that we have the other side, the British national in Australia also arrested and currently facing the court. But perhaps we can watch the Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission giving us more detail about the case.
More. Whoever is involved, and like I always say, it is only God and the courts that can free you. We'll get to the bottom of this enterprise and make sure that Ghana will not be declared as a narco state. It is our determination that after the World Drugs Day on Friday, we are going to go out and hunt for those whose activity or whose business is to just sell drugs to destroy our young ones. Like my deputy always says, this is just the grace period. If you know you are involved in it, I'm only advising you because we will come after you. And nobody, and I say nobody, apart from God and the courts, who can free you. Please send a message across, and I want to encourage you, the press guys gathered here, ladies and guys gathered here, to assist us send the message across. It is just not right to sell something that you know will affect the national security of this country. It will affect our young and upcoming ones, and it will destroy their health. Please send a message across. We'll partner you to work towards that agenda.
All right.
And you heard that the Director General of the Narcotics Control Commission, Brigadier General Mante, there, giving the press updates on the substances that they burnt and assuring us that they are working hard to ensure that we are able as a country to stop the drugs trade and the rippling effects that it could have on the future generation of this country. So the phone lines are activated. You can call in.
I don't think we even have time. Okay. I don't think we have time for phone calls. So we'll just read a few more messages okay. And that will be it. There's one here that says that the law is the law. It is finished. Tokono Enim Guasia Part 1 and 2. Hey, you people. This one came from Ghana Shall Rise Again. And TV3 and Cookie Beatrice, we pray Ghana would have justice on 2nd and 3rd of July regarding those cases in
the one I mentioned
exactly
earlier.
in the High Court. And Cookie, what policy does Master Planner analyze? He should just accept he is an MPP supporter. Tokono is gone for good, and Kwame Godsend said in that one. Okay.
I have two more from here. Okay. And this is coming from MK Erickson Techiman. He says, at the get-go, I told the former CJ and her MPP surrogates that no amount of unitil, legal, gymnastics, and media razzmatazz will keep her afloat because Article 146 is Article 146. The law is the law. And there is Bonti Benjamin, who says, Beatrice, the level of illicit drug movement on our shores is worrying and embarrassing for Ghana's image.
All right.
Thank you for your message.
This one is from Ivan Sibin Samba, and Laura says, good morning, Cookie and B. Please, now that the ECOWAS squad has spoken, what happens to our money she went to enjoy herself with during those days on holidays? Is she going to return the money? The law has to be the law. It looks like this phrase is what's been trending ever since this case started, because she said it, that no matter the amount of noise or no matter how much noise you make, the law is the law. And I guess the law has taken its rightful course this morning. ECOWAS court, the community court, throwing out all the 7 reliefs that she was seeking. Anyway, we ended here. Unfortunately, we couldn't open the phone lines, but we need to make time for the big issue. But before we do, pack up your day the Milky Way with a rich, smooth taste of Peck Milk Shortcake, available everywhere. Pure delight. Get some for yourself, your friends, and family, and have a very delightful day. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. This is still TV3 Newday.
Bring it on, bring it on. You.
case, former CJ. Remember that the CJ took her case to court after she was dismissed on the 1st of September 2025 by the president. And remember that it followed a petition that was filed by one Daniel Ofori in March, and subsequently a 5-member committee chaired by Justice Gabriel Kwaman was set up to look at whether or not there was any prima facie case. And the committee came up in April indicating that it had established a prima facie case and talked about stated misbehavior, and went on to give some reasons behind the decision of the committee. And the president, per Article 146, 1 and 9, as we'll be going into, went ahead and dismissed her on the 1st of September. But of course, that was after her suspension, a suspension that she took to the High Court before even going to the ECOWAS court, whose ruling we're about to have a conversation on, and really the implications for us in terms of constitutional cases like that. So we'll be going into it. We'll also look at what came out yesterday from the Narcotics Control Commission, that apparently the lead suspect in a Ghanaian who was involved in the Australia drug deal, the methamphetamine, has been arrested. We do know that it is not just her who's been arrested as regards this case. We already know a British national was also arrested in Australia because the item, which was concealed in bags of charcoal, was intercepted in Australia, actually. And so we'll be going into that as well. But let me say I'm joined in the studio now by Mr. Kwame Nkoma Bochu. He's a private legal practitioner, lawyer. Good morning to you. It's great to have you here.
Good to be here.
You're still in the Black Stars celebration mood.
I'm wearing it to the Bring the Cup.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm also joined in studio by the Honorable Al-Hassan Fatau. He's a member of Parliament for Yendi and, of course, member of the governing NDC as well. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning to my co-panelists, and good morning to the good people of Yendi.
We'll be joined very shortly by Mr. Kwesi Boche Jr., who is Secretary, MPP Security and Defense Committee, who will be joining us to share his perspectives on the issues we'll be talking about. But before I even get the preliminary thought of the panel here, I want to bring back to us some of the reliefs that Gertrude Tokonu sought at the ECOWAS Community Court, as giving us the suspension and removal from office, as in she being suspended and the subsequent removal from office, she said were arbitrary and in violation of her right to a fair hearing and due process according to Article 7 of the African Charter. She went on to seek also the inquiry and said that the inquiry committee was illegally constituted and affected by bias. Number 3, she said she was denied access to a judicially reasoned opinion of the prima facie determination and the inquiry committee report in violation of her right to information, also stating Article 9 of the same charter. 4, the process violated her right to dignity and protection from arbitrary treatment, stated Article 5 of that same charter she stated earlier. Went on to say that the removal violated her right to work, Article 15 of the same charter that she referred to, and the conduct of the respondent breached the principle of lis pendis. Now, compensation for $10 million for moral and reputational damages. So these are the 7 cases she took to. And she talked about the government of Ghana via committee. So this is what the ECOWAS court decided on, as we were told yesterday, that the government of Ghana via the committee, as in the 5-member committee chaired by Justice Gabriel Kwaman, fulfilled its obligations of fair hearing. It also said that the government of Ghana did not violate the applicant's right to be heard under Article 7 of the African Charter, the same article that Gertrude Tokonu quoted. The ECOWAS court went on to say that prima facie case determination did not violate a fair hearing principle and it was a filtering mechanism. The court went on to say that ground without merit, only courts in Ghana that have jurisdiction over procedural matters of quasi-judicial bodies and declined to review merit of the committee's findings due to lack of jurisdiction. And of course, referring to it as an appellate court or body, and could not review these ones from the local perspective. And it said that suspension from office by the president did not violate the applicant's right to work. Now, the applicant was not unfairly and arbitrarily removed from office as the CJ of Ghana. And also the decision to focus on single petition for her removal was not irregular. It was one of the things that Gertrude Tokonu raised as well, because there were 3 petitions and one of them, of course, succeeded whilst the others fell off. And she raised an issue with why the government would just use, or the committee would just use one of the 3 petitions against her to conclude and say that they found a prima facie case of stated misbehavior against her, the reason for her removal. And so I just brought you really what she sought from the ECOWAS Community Court and what the court is saying. Let me remind you again that before all of these processes started, there was a petition that was received in March and the committee set up in April, and suspension subsequently done, and the dismissal on the 1st of September 2025. And in the committee's work, the reason they came to that conclusion, it used Article 146, and I'll read the 1 and 9. 1 says, Justice of the Supreme Court or a chairman of regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior or incompetence or on ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. Mind you, the 5-member committee chaired by Justice Gabriel Kwaman used stated misbehavior as a reason for its decision. And when you read Article 9, which was one of the things that Gertrude Tokonu also challenged in terms of the president dismissing her, it says that the president shall, in each case, act in accordance with the recommendations of the committee. And subsequently, in that statement that was issued, we read the statements that announced her dismissal, that this article had been applied per the Constitution, and it was the reason the decisions were taken. I want to first take your thought, Lawyer Bochio, really, the decision of the ECOWAS Court after months of going through this and the reasons they gave behind their decision.
Well, the ECOWAS Court gave these rulings in the context of the powers that they have. They stated expressly that they could not go into the merits of the case itself. So they looked at the procedural aspects of the case, as in how Justice Tokonu was treated from the beginning to the end, as to the fairness of her trial, whether she was given access to the documents that she wanted. She complained about how her phone was seized and other issues. They looked at the procedure. They didn't go into the merits. That is, they didn't look at the stated misbehavior and the other factors, whether the travel that she undertook was valid and the other issues. And it is worthy of note that there's a distinction there between the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court and the appeal courts of Ghana. In Ghana, when you lose a case and you take it to the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court, from the High Court or the Circuit Court or District Court to those 3 courts, to the Superior Courts or the Appellate Courts, it is they do what you call a rehearing. Rehearing means that they don't look at just the procedure that was used during your case, but they go into the case itself. So they go beyond, did you get the required documents?
The merits of the case.
Yes. So in the appellate courts in Ghana go into the merits of the case. But the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS courts and similar international courts, like the African court and the UN court and all that, they cannot necessarily go into the merits of the case. When you bring a personal claim, they can only look at the procedure because they are mandated to respect the constitution of the country that you are coming from. So they cannot go and say that traveling with somebody is bad or it's good or all that. They just look at the procedure, whether you were given adequate facilities to defend yourself. So there is a distinction there. So they look at the procedure from beginning to end. And when it comes to looking at procedure, you look at the posture of the committee itself, the 5-member committee. Were they biased against you or not? And they ruled that the 5-member committee was not biased. They ruled that the searches, the seizure of the phones was standard as will be provided to everybody. They ruled that Justice Tokonu is no longer a member of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and the High Court. Because as a Chief Justice, you are a member of all those courts. So they ruled that once you are removed as Chief Justice, you are not a member.
It also removes you as a justice of even the Supreme Court panel.
Yes, exactly. So I would say that they looked at the secondary matters concerning the case and not the primary matters. They expressly refused to go into the primary matters because they believe that that is within the constitution of the country and they cannot attack it. However, on these 7 procedural grounds, they did rule against her. And I suppose it brings closure to the debate about Article 146. It also brings closure to the remit or the boundaries of the ECOWAS court. I'm sure maybe similar cases may have gone there, but I don't think those cases were as high profile as this. And this will serve as a precedent to guide all of us.
Looking at the jurisdictional restrictions, as it were, of the ECOWAS court, would you side then with those who feel that perhaps it was dead on arrival already because this was a court that couldn't go into the local merits of the case?
I don't think so, because, you know, in Ghana, or in the common law jurisdictions, it is said that procedure is a handmaid and not a mistress. So that means that procedure is not, let's say, is not as weighty as the merits itself. However, procedure is still very, very important. There are some aspects of procedure that go to the root of a case. For example, you are summoned to court, but you are not served with the writ or you are not served with the summons. It's a procedural anomaly. So you don't know what you are answering to. So I think it is a good thing that she took it there. And these are valid procedural infractions that she felt should be brought to the attention of the court. I don't think it was dead on arrival. For example, the court said that there was no proof that the documents she requested, she had actually applied for them, which means that if she had attached proof that she had applied for those documents and there was a refusal for her to be given those documents, then she could have probably won on that particular point. So more or less, a procedural, let's say, a procedural shortfall on behalf of her legal team led to that claim being dismissed, which means that all it took was maybe attaching a letter with the judicial service stamp and signature showing that they had received a letter from her requesting those documents, but she did not receive it.
We are yet to see the full ruling of the court, but would you say that perhaps it's because she might not have submitted enough evidence, the reason she's received the results or the ruling that we're talking about now?
Okay, admittedly, I have not seen the evidence, and I am familiar with members of her legal team, and I think they are very competent people. However, in the legal work, it's you don't always get it right. There are times when you concentrate a lot on what you feel are your strongest points, and you may not give enough attention to your weakest points. However, there are many times where it is your weakest point that will win the case. So I'm sure they submitted a lot of evidence, but probably felt that this particular point was not as strong as the other points. So they may not have given enough attention to that.
Honorable Fatao, what's your initial reaction to this by the court?
Well, thanks so much, and then good morning once again. Well, my initial remarks will be that, thank God, the processes locally have been vindicated. Because when we had these processes leading to the results we had, we heard and saw all manner of comments from the opposition MPP, from the minority leadership in parliament, all chastising the processes and calling it a travesty of justice. So it was good that her ladyship took the matter to a higher court. And the panel there, that panel was not constituted by President John Dramani Mahama. And so I would struggle to see how someone can read anything into it. So it means that, and you see the court was very specific on all 7 charges, on all 7 reliefs that were sought. The court on each and every one of them dismissed it. Which means that clearly what may have been done locally here was not in violation of anything. And you see, the ECOWAS court, usually they don't go into even interpretation of our laws, especially our constitution. And whatever the president did, whatever was done by the Council of State, whatever was done by the panel that was constituted, the ECOWAS court has come to the conclusion that everything was done as per the law. And so, having had this, it just goes to vindicate the entire process, and that the president was, after all, not on a witch hunting spree. You remember, it was the same president who, when a petition was filed for the removal of the current electoral commissioner and even the OSP,
plus the deputies,
he submitted it to the same processes and came back to us with a finding that no prima facie case had been established against the electoral commissioner, her deputies, and even the OSP. And so it should tell you that the president does not intend to meddle in these things. He would go as the constitution dictates. And that exactly was what he did. And so the outcome seeks to vindicate everybody. And so those who were of the opinion that things may have been skewed against her leadership, they should begin to be bearing their heads in shame. Because this court could have come to these conclusions in another way or form. Because they said that even her right to fair hearing, they couldn't establish it. But how can you come to us, calling us to look into whether your right to fair hearing was breached or not? Meanwhile, at the same place that you went to have your matter heard, you called 12 witnesses, some of whom were even experts. So, were you asking for more than that and you were only reduced to 12? What is that are you talking about? In fact, for the first time, the president was not even mandated. Maybe colleague counsel here will tell you. When we are establishing prima facie cases, especially even in our, you even followed during this man's trial, Untumi. Sometimes, mostly during prima facie establishment, usually you don't even have, if you like, in that case, let me call it the accused. You don't even have the accused side of the case being heard at the time of the establishment of the prima facie. That is why when the prosecution finishes its case, the first thing usually the accused's lawyer does is to file for submission of no case. And what does it seek to do? Is to say that the prosecution's case does not establish a prima facie case deserving of an answer from the accused. Is that not it, Council? Now, once at that time, remember the accused side of the story will not have been heard because he hasn't even opened his case. So it is all in establishing prima facie. That is why in the court ruling, the court has said that prima facie establishment is usually a filtering stage.
That's what the court said.
That's what the court said. It's a filtering mechanism. So if it is a filtering mechanism, and look, even the president was being very magnanimous. Sometimes another president will just choose to say that once we are just into establish prima facie, I don't even need to hear from you. I only need to forward it to the Council of State. Let them look at it and let them determine whether there is a prima facie case for you to answer before we forward it to you for your responses. But even the president did not do that. The president even went further. At the same time that the petitions were being forwarded to the Council of State, the president also forwarded same at that material, even before the Council of State looked into it, forwarded same to you. And so you were
and she sent in her responses.
Yes, before even the prima facie case. But in the normal criminal jurisprudence, as we have it, this may not be a criminal jurisprudence matter. But in the when we are establishing prima facie case, we will not have heard from the accused person. It is only when we establish that there is a prima facie case that the judge will now call on the accused person to open his or her defense.
Earlier, you mentioned that this case has vindicated the local processes that were established.
Exactly.
Those who disagree with it say that, for instance, President Mahama, before the 2024 presidential election, had persistently criticized the judiciary, asked for self-cleansing, extensive reforms within Ghana's judiciary because of how things were going. There are also instances when we've had party executives also talking about the need for reforms. In fact, I can quote what Esiedun Ketia also said, who is the national chairman of the party, said during one of the Resetting Ghana campaigns, where he said the resetting agenda means institutions need to be strong and independent. Police will work independently. Judges will work independently without being influenced. We will not have an attorney general who will be meeting judges secretly to influence judges to jail innocent people. If you are on the land, you are not in a functioning democracy. And also talked about the need for us to have self-cleansing within the judiciary. People who are criticizing this feel that some of these comments meant that the government was already determined to deal, quote unquote, with certain individuals just under the cover of using the process. How do you respond to that?
Are we saying that because of the unknown future, when you have concerns today, you should not voice it out? One, it wasn't President Mahama, nor was it Esiedun Ketia, nor was it any of these people you mentioned who filed the petitions. And the president, per our laws, once the petition is filed, he doesn't have an option. He has to trigger the process under Article 146. Now, in any case, assuming without admitting that these things were said and these things are the basis for this action. So what do you talk about in respect of the Electoral Commissioner? Because these same people criticize the Electoral Commissioner in the run-up to the elections. Esiedun Ketia criticized the Electoral Commissioner. His Excellency the President criticized the processes of the conduct of the elections. Yet, when a petition was brought for the removal of the Electoral Commissioner and her deputies, he took it through the processes and came back with a different verdict. So, how do you even compare these two things? So, I should tell you that if what was forwarded to the Council of State had come back with a position that there was no prima facie case, and if the recommendation from the committee that was set up to determine the matter, if the recommendations had come back with a different verdict, trust me, His Excellency the President that we all know would have gone ahead to say exactly what those recommendations are. He would not have tampered with anything. And so, to the extent that those same criticisms were targeted at even the Electoral Commission, because there were wrongs that were going on. And some of these wrongs are palpable. Which is why, when even at the ECOWAS court, Justice Alabatokono wanted to paint the picture that she was being politically witch-hunted. It was shot down because, you see, if you look at the evidence that was presented, which point to the stated misbehavior, some of them, you can only come to one conclusion. and even incompetence. Because see, how can you, 6 months to an election, July 2024, you write a letter as the Chief Justice to the President, asking the President to appoint 5 more justices to the Supreme Court, when you know that per the establishment, it is not the Chief Justice who recommends for appointment of justices to the Supreme Court. So where were you driving that power from? That amounts to incompetence. And this was not the making of NDC. This was not Asedi Nketiah's making. Neither was it the President's making. You brought this upon yourself. You understand? And look at how cases were being listed for hearing during her time, especially from 2022, 2023, 2024. You had cases that were there for years that were never listed. And you had cases that were filed by 12 noon. And before close of day, judges were empaneled and the case was heard. So, even the Article 296.
You're referring to the 4 MPs case?
Exactly. Even Article 296 and Article 22 of the Constitution will tell you that when you are given discretionary power, listing of cases, empaneling justice and those, they are all your administrative powers. When you are given those powers, you should conduct yourself in a manner that will not seem to be capricious. Or you understand? But if you look at all the allegations that were leveled, the committee could not have come to any other conclusion. And so I would laugh at any attempt to see this as a manifestation of what had been said prior to the 2024 election, because same things were said about the Electoral Commissioner and her deputies, but yet no prima facie case was established.
So just to clarify, I wasn't saying that what happened at the ECOWAS court is a manifestation of what had happened prior. Based on the pronouncement. I was just saying those who are interpreting what is happening and not necessarily as what has happened. But let's look at the way forward. What could be the implications for such constitutional cases? Because earlier you were saying that this should serve as precedence. Moving forward, what do you foresee?
Well, I foresee that with this ruling by the ECOWAS court, that means that the process under Article 146, as carried out in Justice Tokonu's case, is going to be the standard process now. Because now there's a point of reference which is given further validation by the ruling of the ECOWAS court.
And can it be quoted contextually in local cases?
It can. Such cases are of what you call persuasive effects in Ghana's jurisdiction. The Ghanaian cases are what bind the Ghanaian courts, especially the Supreme Court cases, which are the final authority over all other cases lower. However, any case outside the jurisdiction of Ghana is of persuasive effect. So this is something that will hold in our courts.
One of the questions being asked is one of the things that were found as regards the monies she used when she was on the trip. And I just wanted to bring to us again the amount involved as alleged, that the total cost was alleged to be approximately 337,470 Ghana cedis, comprising 261,890 for her family's travel and per diem, plus 75,580 cedis for airline tickets to Tanzania. If you look at what the committee gave earlier, it's one of the reasons for the stated misbehavior. How do we move forward?
It's not the committee. It's part of the petition.
The petition.
Yes.
How do we, of course, part of the reasons they considered, which was eventually brought out. How do we move forward with this in particular?
Well, I haven't heard of a claim being made against her for refund. In such civil cases, every relief that you want should be included in the original claim so that the defendants can respond point by point on those reliefs that you seek. So, in submitting these petitions, allegations were made against her. However, as far as I know, the petitioner did not ask that these amounts or the amounts that went beyond what is allowed should be refunded to the state. Neither did the committee, because you know a judicial body can go beyond the relief submitted and add any other reliefs that they feel, or in legal terms, that they deem fit. As far as I know, I have not seen anything like that for a refund of the amounts. However, even though the case is over, I don't think it stops maybe the authorities from bringing a separate claim for a refund of
now, she stated when issues about the money she spent came to light, that out of the 14,000 accountable interest provided for her trip to Arusha, Tanzania, she spent $4,411 and subsequently returned the remaining $9,588 to the Judicial Secretary within 2 days of her return. Should that be enough in leaving this even after the ECOWAS court has decided on this general issue?
Well, you know, when regarding that particular issue, I would admit that I don't have enough information on it. However, I would say that when you commit an infraction, even after refunding whatever you are claimed to have misappropriated, it does not automatically cancel the claim that has been brought against you. You can still be penalized for the attempt to misappropriate or even misappropriating and refunding. So the refund does not make a difference. It will still come with its penalties. Yes.
Let me get your thoughts on moving forward, because already yesterday we got some reactions from the floor of Parliament yesterday, and of course we heard the NDC MP talk about the fact that this was dead on arrival. Lawyer Bocho doesn't agree that indeed the case was dead on arrival, but the MPP, so that was the Kwabre East Member of Parliament Akwesi Jemfi Onyine Champon speaking earlier, but the minority thinks that the ECOWAS court perhaps could have looked more into this case and provided better responses just for future references. How do you react to that immediate reaction
he has
from
to
the
furnish
minority?
us with further and better particulars, because this court sat on a case that was brought about, or that was brought by Justice Halabatokunu. They sat on it and they looked at all the nuances of that case and came back with their verdict. I do not think there was not even a single relief sought that was not addressed. You understand? And they look at the entirety of the petitioner's case and that for the respondent and came to this conclusion. And so if the conclusion does not go in your favor, it does not lie in your mouth to say that they didn't look at the entirety of it or they should have looked at it in this way. But be that as it may, we didn't expect anything different from the MPP. You would want them, you know that obviously they want to poo-poo it just as they poo-pooed the committee's work. The committee that was composed locally by His Excellency. But at the end, there has to be an end to some of these things. And I don't see this matter traveling beyond this level. In regards to the money you are talking about, sometimes the issue is not so much about the amount involved. And I don't think, like he said, there is any request for a refund in this instance. It's just to point out the indiscretion on the part of the Chief Justice, regardless of whether there was a refund or not. That act itself is seen to have been in violation of the ethics that he was supposed to safeguard. And so, clearly, the matter is deemed closed, even though there's still a matter pending at the High Court in relation to this whole issue.
Yes.
I think that has to do with, the warrant for her removal is being challenged. It's a judicial review application that is currently pending before the High Court. So that is the only thing pending in respect of this matter. Otherwise, I think the case is closed. It's unfortunate that she's found herself in this situation. But at the end of the day, she made us understand that the law is the law.
The law is the law, you say. Let me acknowledge the presence of Mr. Kwesi Botry Jr., Secretary, NPP Security and Defense Committee. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us. But I want to ask you one more question before I come to lawyer, and then I'll get your preliminary thoughts, Mr. Botry. When this case came up, there were a number of people who started speaking against this whole procedure as spelled out in Article 146. And one of the people who spoke openly was even the former Chief Justice of Akufo, who, until she resigned recently, was even a member of the Council of State. Yes, the ECOWAS court has decided on this case, and the understanding I'm getting from the panel is that it should bring an end to it. But should we go into that conversation about the need to reconsider the processes when it comes to the removal of the Chief Justice?
Obviously, I think it's a major concern that has come up. Even if you look at the Constitutional Review Committees, one of their recommendations is in respect of this particular process. People feel that it's too opaque and that we shouldn't leave everything entirely in that darkness. You understand? The process should be a bit more open, and that there shouldn't be too much powers put in the hands of the president, or if you like, the Council of State, to act as per the current position of the law. And so we'll have to go back and look at what the recommendations are in the Constitution Review Committee report that was issued. And then I think in all, they are all trying to address this because it's a major concern. If you look at the process, you send it to Chief Justice, you receive it, send it to Chief Justice, to the Council of State send their findings of prima facie and all those. It appears as though for anybody who is not satisfied with the process or anybody who is a victim of that process can easily raise some of these issues. They may not be legal, they may not have force in law or in the courts, but there are things that can prick anybody's mind to want to ask of some of these processes. And so if as a society we want to change the law and look at the processes once again as per the recommendation by the Constitutional Review Committee, I think it's up to us.
Let me just bring you two of the points the CRC made. Okay. It said that it actually highlighted the current framework and said it's overly centralized and potentially unfair, and went on to say that it gives the executive arm too much power and leverage over the judiciary, and also said that the constitutional ambiguities regarding whether removing a CJ strips them of their role as a Supreme Court justice entirely. And we know that the president made us aware that there will be a team that would look at the recommendations and look at which we should implement. But lawyer, what's your thought on this very argument about what we need to look at moving forward with Article 146 before I get the thoughts of Mr. Botry?
I think I agree with Honorable that it should be more transparent. Our constitution, admittedly, it just gives too much power to the president. It just gives too much power to but it's understandable because at that time we're moving from a military era to a civilian era. So we've reached the stage where a lot of these powers should be watered down, and there should be more power given to the other organs when it comes to these processes. The Council of State, probably even Parliament should have a voice in a lot of these things, even going as far as the appointment of Chief Justices and Supreme Court judges and other things, because there's this perception of bias. Anytime a judge is given a ruling because he was appointed by this person or that person. So I think the appointing powers of the president should be looked at, and some of these things should be rather delegated to other organs of government to take care of.
Thank you. Mr. Botry, I want to get your thoughts on the ECOWAS court's decision. The argument from those who criticize the case being taken to the court already is that this justifies that every process that was taken or she was taken through wasn't wrong as she claimed.
Good morning to you. Good morning to Honorable. Good morning to Council. Good morning to our cherished viewers. I think that in order to appreciate this matter properly, it has to be situated in two important perspectives. The first perspective being the legal perspective, and the second perspective being the political perspective. I'll start with the legal perspective of the whole matter. So Madam Gertrude Tokono, Justice Gertrude Tokono, filed an action before the ECOWAS court to seek certain human rights claims. The action before the ECOWAS court was not to determine the constitutionality or otherwise of her removal, was not to justify her removal. The action before the ECOWAS court was to claim the fact that her fundamental human rights to dignity, her fundamental rights to fair trial, and other stipulated rights under the African Charter and recognized international laws have been infringed upon or have been breached. And so she sought the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court to deal with these human rights matters. And so the conversation as to the fact that the decision of the ECOWAS court validates or justifies the removal of the CJ, in my humble opinion, I do not think that it is right for anybody to allude to that fact. You can say that the ECOWAS court has vindicated the fact that her rights were not breached, but to say that the ECOWAS court has vindicated the internal processes, I do not think that, because in any case, the ECOWAS court, largely, we know that Ghana is a sovereign nation. The ECOWAS court does not have the legal mandate or jurisdiction to determine any matter that happens in this country, to determine the constitutionality of any matter that happens in this country. That doesn't lie within the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court.
But aside from the human rights aspect, the ECOWAS court also talked about the procedure, because Madam Tokonu said that even the committee was not constituted properly, she didn't have fair hearing, among others. And yes, the ECOWAS talked about the procedures. The court said that the procedure was fair. It talked about a single petition being used to remove her, saying that it wasn't irregular and all of those.
That's the same
it
thing
did
I'm saying.
comment on it.
We are talking about the same thing. I'm talking about the constitutionality of the process. Let's not forget some, legal persons have raised concerns regarding the constitutional process. That was not the matter before the ECOWAS court. So, respectfully, let's stick to the facts. Now, Madam Gertrude Tokono also invoked the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court because the domestic courts have, about 3 or 2 occasions, did not entertain her matter in the domestic court, and so she thought it was wise that she seeks the intervention of the ECOWAS court. When she filed the action before the ECOWAS court, the Attorney General sought to throw out the matter under the guise of the ECOWAS court not having jurisdiction to even hear or entertain the matter. But the ECOWAS court disagreed with the Attorney General and decided to hear the merits of the matter. I will not go into the details of the matter, particularly because the complement of the full ruling is not yet out. And so I do not know the reasons or the ratio behind the decision of the court. I would not want to jump the gun to say that the court decision is legally sound or not. But I'll wait, and then when I have the full complement of the ruling, then we can have a proper conversation about this matter.
If I get you correctly, are you saying that the local system or court did not entertain her case?
I'm saying that she was thrown out of the local court about 2 times, and that is a fact.
But before she went to ECOWAS court, the argument was that she was supposed to have exhausted all her processes,
and I'm saying that before she went was she thrown out of the local court?
But if you're making your argument,
no, I'm asking a question. You can educate me if I'm wrong. Was she thrown out of the local court?
When you present a case to court, the court looks at the merits, and it can choose to either retain what you've brought or throw it out.
Absolutely.
But if
I'm saying she was thrown out.
Yes, if the court throws you out, are you trying to say that it was just the court's decision not to entertain her case rather than
you are mixing what I said. I said when she filed the action before the ECOWAS court, it was the case of the Attorney General that the ECOWAS court should not even entertain her matter.
Okay.
And then I came down to say that she was thrown out of the local court twice. And that is a fact. That is a fact. Now, considering the political perspective of this matter, on my way here, I was listening to you. You really mentioned that the removal of Justice Gertrude Tokuno was a political promise. Nobody can run away from that fact.
So forgive me. What I'm trying to say is that before you go to the political arguments bit, what I'm saying is if you go to court and you don't have what you have to present, the court will obviously throw out your case. We've heard Andy Apia Kubi complaining about how he doesn't think that the court is serving him right in his case with Wuntumi. So I'm trying to let you know that the name of the game is evident. You don't agree with that as a lawyer?
You see, what you are saying, what you are saying is not different from what I said.
No.
The point I'm making is that Madam Gertrude Tokuno went to the domestic court and she was thrown out of court. Is it not the same thing as what you are saying?
No.
When you go to court, it's either you succeed or you don't succeed. There is no middle ground.
The understanding I'm getting
and the point is that she was thrown out of court. Your understanding is different from what I'm saying, respectfully.
So you're not
and so if you allow me to make my point, I'm sure we would have a very good conversation.
I'll let you come in. You're not saying that she was thrown out because of whatever reasons other than evidence. That's
I am saying that she was thrown out of court. Whatever interpretation you put to it, it's up to you. But the point I'm making is that she was thrown out of court. And it is a fact that she was thrown out of court. Now, considering the political perspective of this matter, like I was saying, when the NDC were in opposition, one of their major political promises was to overhaul the judiciary by sacking the Chief Justice.
I don't remember any
right
NDC
from the
person
outset,
saying they were going to sack a
Mustafa
CJ.
Bande, their Deputy General Secretary, said that you can cross-check. Right from the outset.
Where did he say that?
Why? Right from the... In fact, I think he even said it on this very platform. Right from the outset, it was their campaign promise that Madam Gertrude Tokuno was not fit to be a Chief Justice because they perceived that she was aligned to the New Patriotic Party. They went on to tag her as Osonomame, tag her as the women's organizer of the NDC. Clearly, even the physical posturing of the then candidate of the NDC against Madame Tokuno was actually glaring. And so it was a political promise which was well orchestrated and executed when they want power. Nobody can run away from that fact. And you see, I am very saddened. I am very saddened about why did she go to the ECOWAS court?
I'm asking you, the ECOWAS court has ruled.
Why did Madame Gertrude Tokuno go to the ECOWAS court?
Please answer my question. I'm saying
if she wasn't suspended, would she have gone to the ECOWAS court? If she wasn't suspended, would she have gone to the ECOWAS court? And so it was politically calculated and executed. Now, I am very saddened by all that is happening to Madame Tokuno. And I am sad for one good measure that today it is Madame Gertrude Tokuno. Tomorrow it may be somebody else. You see, politicians, I have always maintained that politicians can do our politics. Let us be very careful not to introduce the judiciary into our politics. Let us be very careful not to target the judiciary in the course of our politics. Because the very moment we do that, we are trying to undermine the constitutional supremacy that we all enjoy in this country and the democracy that we enjoy in this country. Granted, without admitting that Madame Tokuno was removed through the constitutional process, there are times where governments engage in what is described as constitutional terrorism by manipulating provisions of the constitution to suit a certain political agenda. And that is constitutional terrorism, and that is what we witnessed with the removal of Madame Gertrude Tokuno. Nobody can convince me that Madame Gertrude Tokuno's removal was grounded in law and not politics. Everything about her removal was grounded in politics. It was simply politics and nothing else. But for politics, she wouldn't have been removed. How do you remove a whole Chief Justice of the realm under such flimsy allegations? Flimsy allegations. Terrible allegations. How do you remove such a chief justice under such, you know, and right from the outset, right from day one, Madame Gertrude Tokuno was of the position that she wasn't even allowed to cross-examine these people. On my way here, I heard Honorable allude to the fact that even in our criminal jurisprudence, when a prima facie matter will be determined before you be allowed to open your defense. before a prima facie is determined in our criminal jurisprudence, the accused person is allowed to cross-examine the witnesses of the prosecution. And the Supreme Court has held in a number of cases that the cross-examination process is to enable the accused persons put their case across even before they open their defense. But in such a process, in such an important process of removing the CJ, if the CJ is not afforded the opportunity to cross-examine his accusers, then what kind of theater are we witnessing?
Is that what is spelled out when it comes to the removal of a CJ in Article 146?
No, I think that, you see, you gladly recognize or appreciate the fact that Article 146 in its entirety is not exhaustive when it comes to the removal of the CJ, because it gives the committee a lot of powers. And that is why I was of the position that if you look at Article 146, if you look at the wording correctly, then a regulation ought to have been provided to guide the affairs of the committee. But because the committee properly constituted is a quasi-judicial committee determining on that has the mandate to determine both fact and law, and therefore there ought to have been a regulation to guide and steer the affairs of the committee.
But prior to this is what Article 146 spelled out for us, and that's what was used.
And I'm saying that as part of natural justice, as part of the processes of seeking the truth, as part of the processes of accountability, as part of the processes of transparency and fairness, it is only sound and right and reasonable that an accused person or a person accused of committing stated misbehaviors is allowed to cross-examine his accusers. It's allowed to cross-examine his accusers. You don't hold the removal, the committee sitting of a removal of a Chief Justice at a national security installation close to where the Chief Justice uncle was murdered and buried. You don't do that. When you do that, you are doing what they call psychological ops. You are psychologically manipulating the thinking of the person. What people describe as mindfuckery. That is what they did to the Chief Justice. That is what they did to the Chief Justice.
They didn't think so.
You see, it is even an embarrassment that this matter got to the ECOWAS court. It's an embarrassment. I think that it's a total embarrassment. But then again, I mean, the president has decided to do what he wanted to do. The Chief Justice has been removed. Whatever conversation we have here, the Chief Justice will not be reinstated. And so I think that it is an embarrassment to our democracy. It is something that should never happen. It's an assault on rule of law and constitutionalism. Let us not embrace these acts of constitutional terrorism and constitutional lawlessness, using the law, manipulating the law to favor a certain political agenda. Let us not encourage these acts, because these acts have the tendency of destroying the very democracy that we enjoy in this country. And so the removal of Madam Gertrude Tokuno was grounded in politics. It was a politically orchestrated agenda which was executed diligently under the guise of following the constitutional process.
You say that this was politically motivated and she was removed because she was perceived as being NPP. But those who criticize her and support this process also argue that her actions and inactions prior to the petitions coming for her removal proved that she was doing another party's bidding. For instance, the issue about the 4 MPs in Parliament, when the Speaker ruled that as long as per Article 97(1) G, among others, they had declared their intentions plus all the other details that came with it, they had vacated their position. Even before Parliament could have the opportunity to fully exhaust this process, as you're aware, Apenyomake, now the minority leader, had taken the case to court. And immediately the CJ came in and ruled that it was only the Supreme Court that had the exclusive right of interpreting the Constitution, and said that the Speaker of Parliament had no right within its own parliamentary executive. You do not think that those who say that she herself had proved herself political, leading to her removal, all right?
What is the job of the CJ, if I should ask you? Do you know the job of the CJ?
Go ahead and make your point.
The CJ has 2 duties as the Chief Justice. One, the first duty is an administrative duty that has to do with empaneling and other things. The second duty is that she herself is a justice of the Supreme Court.
And so you agree with that decision?
Let me make my point. You've asked me a question respectfully.
Go ahead.
And the second duty as a justice of the Supreme Court is to administer justice. Now, we all know it's a matter of law and fact that when it comes to the interpretation of the Constitution, it's the sole jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Even the High Court does not have the power, or the Court of Appeal does not have the power or the powers to interpret any provision of the Constitution. And so, from what you have said, that the Speaker of Parliament sought to interpret provisions of the Constitution. That is not the job of the Speaker of Parliament.
He wasn't interpreting, and
you said the Speaker of Parliament was interpreting the Constitution, and that is why the learned Honorable Afenyo Makin invoked the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. You just said that, and I'm saying that when it comes to matters of interpreting the Constitution, it's at the sole jurisdiction of the Supreme Court.
Let me bring you clarity.
So I do not think that.
Let me bring you clarity. I'm saying that the Supreme Court said what the Speaker did was indicative of he interpreting the Constitution, and that it was not his place to do so.
So does the Supreme Court not have the powers to checkmate the Speaker of Parliament? What does the principle of separation of powers dictate? Does the Supreme Court not have the power? Did Madam Gertrude Tokuno act in excess of the powers conferred on the court? She didn't. And so what are we talking about here? What are we talking about
Please
here? What we are
what
happened
regarding
the removal of Madam Gertrude Isaba Tokuno was something that was not proper. It's not something that we should embrace as Ghanaians. It's not something that we should embrace as practitioners of democracy. And so, to land, I think that what happened was constitutional terrorism. What happened was politically orchestrated. And I will say this and say it again, that it is one of the cardinal sins of the NDC, because the NDC, in fact, I am not surprised about what they did to Gertrude Tokuno. They have their record. The PNDC have their record on how they treat judges. And so it is a record that is associated with the NDC. And so if they constitutionally manipulate provisions of the law to remove the CJ, it is no news. Yesterday, they decided to use their arms and weapons to terrorize members of the judiciary. Today, they are using the constitution, manipulate provisions to terrorize the Chief Justice. And so it is something that is associated to the political party NDC. But the point is very fundamental, that the removal of Madam Gertrude Tokuno was shrouded in politics. It was politics and not law. Simple as that.
The point of what happened in Parliament as regards the 4 MPs and even the Supreme Court coming in is grounded in Article 99(1), which talks about the High Court shall have jurisdiction to hear and determine any question whether a person has been validly elected as a member of Parliament or the seat of a member has become vacant, which was one of the things. And then a person has been validly elected. Okay, so that's for the Speaker, which was one of the things used by the Speaker in determining or coming to his conclusions, and eventually the CJ coming in. But perhaps before I come to you, the Honourable, I want to get your thoughts as well as a lawyer based on the arguments that Mr. Botwe is making.
Well, I would say, I think it is unfair to describe, I'm not a member of the NPP, but I think it's unfair to describe the Chief Justice as the women's organizer of the NPP. Because for anybody to ascend to the Supreme Court or the bench at all, it's a rigorous process. And I don't think any of the Supreme Court judges is political or will take any decision in favor of this party or the other. Because their rulings are even given in public and are subject to scrutiny. But that is not to say that the court cannot get the law wrong at times. Because the Supreme Court itself has what you call the review jurisdiction, which means that the Supreme Court can take a decision against you. And when you are dissatisfied, you come back to the same Supreme Court. And this time, it's a larger panel. Most of the time, the panel is 5. There's a larger panel of 7 who review the decision and decide. They can decide that, okay, we erred, so we are going to reverse the decision we took against you. So if you're going to hold it against the Article 99(1), then I will say that you may be right. I have not
done comparative analysis.
I have not, but I'm saying that it is still open to anyone to have gone for a review on that decision based on Article 99(1). But I think to target as being a political decision on the part of the Chief Justice is a no-no, because I have done a few cases before the Supreme Court. There are times when my case has been heard early. There are times when my case has been heard late. In the beginning, you could choose your case, but the court was being inundated with a lot of cases. So for the sake of case management, they will sift through and say that, okay, this case, it can wait a while. We'll write to you, we'll serve you hearing notice. And there were times when some of my cases were heard quite early, times when it was heard late. And these were not political cases at all.
Are you arguing in as regards to what Mr. Butcher said earlier about whether or not her case was accommodated here?
Exactly. So I'm arguing as to what I know from the law and from practice as a legal practitioner. That fixing of dates, we're all subject to it. Majority of these cases I'm talking about were even land cases which were between private individuals. There was no political element.
They are administrative decisions.
They are administrative decisions. So I would say that to tag any of her decisions as political is unfair. But to say that some of those decisions may have been made in error are fair, because the Supreme Court itself, within the Supreme Court's rules, admits that there are times when the Supreme Court can get it wrong, and then you come for a review.
So the point, if I get you correctly, you're making is that the CJ deciding to come in because she felt that the Supreme Court had the exclusive interpretation, and also the argument about Article 99(1) could be interpreted based on understandings, and eventually concluded that the Supreme Court was wrong or right. That's the point you're making.
Exactly.
Honorable, I want to come to you on some of the points that Mr. Butcher made earlier as well.
Well, and thank you so much. And I'm happy you took him on some of the issues. You see, every day, courts throw out cases. And so the fact that at one point in time, Justice Arabatokunu took a matter to court and it was thrown out, doesn't make a case any different. Every day, applications are being thrown out, day in, day out. You understand? Now, Bojo is saying that we should not introduce judiciary into our politics. Today, as we speak, Abroye is calling judges politicians. The same people who are telling us today that we should not introduce our judges into politics, that it is an institution that should be held sacrosanct. Today, their regional chairman is calling judges politicians. And Afenyo Magen, who is the leader of MPP in Parliament, is calling judges all manner of names and saying he will continue to do that. And so they should look at their conduct towards judges and towards the court before even asking anybody not to introduce politics into the judiciary. Now, if you look at what you were talking about, you see, nobody can say that administrative decisions are sacrosanct. Administrative decisions are also sometimes decisions that can be challenged, and they can also be wrong, and they can be biased. So what we are saying is that she may have exercised her administrative right or administrative power by way of empanel court and listing of cases. But we pointed instances where we are of the opinion that that power she exercised was biased. And listen to me, when a legal scholar by name Mensa Bonsu, everybody here, at least as lawyers, we all know Mensa Bonsu. Mensa Bonsu, listen to what she said about Araba Tokuno. That Tokuno had engaged in, quote, a series of legally untenable acts, stroke decisions, leading up to the elections, which made her political affinity obvious. These are the words of a legal scholar we all respect, not an NDC person, not a politician. Everybody was pointing to some of the things he was doing. And see, when you are engaged in an act and consistently your attention is being drawn to it, you should not say because you were appointed by MPP, and for that matter, these things that are coming from NDC, they are only saying it because you are not one of them. No, look at what you are doing. If you are not listing cases, you are not listing cases. If your timetable doesn't allow you to list cases, it should not allow you to list cases. But if you can pick and choose as to which cases should be heard and which cases should not be heard, the Richard Sky's sexual rights and family values bill, that matter that was in court, she failed to list this case until after the elections, immediately after the elections. Then she now found space to list that case. A lot of these instances which point to that biased exercise of your administrative power. And if the panel has come to a conclusion that these conducts of yours point to misbehavior, and that your other conduct of writing to the president to appoint 5 justices of the Supreme Court is also a matter of incompetence, so marks of incompetence, you should not say we are saying it because we are NDC. These are things that were glaring. In fact, if Justice Arawatikun had not done any of these things, we couldn't have put them on her. But she was engaged in these things, and they were pointed out. And the panel came into agreement. If the panel had come to the conclusion that these acts do not amount to a stated misbehavior, so be it. The president would have gone ahead, because the president is mandated to pass on. The president is not allowed to change the decision of the panel. The president only communicated the decision of the panel to the generator of the populace. And so, and then Bocho also talked about the issue of prima facie and that cross-examination. And he likened it to the practice we have in our criminal jurisprudence, where before even a prima facie case is established, the accused is allowed to cross-examine.
I think I talked about the process in Article 146.
Yeah, he brought it up, and that's what I just have to address that one. Look, we have the Constitution here. If you can point to us, where in the Constitution does it say, Article 146, that before the establishment of prima facie case, the respondent should cross-examine somebody or responses from the respondent should be received? There's nowhere in Article 146. You can read it. And in any case, at that level, who does she even cross-examine? Because the matter has not been given to a committee which she will be appearing before. It is still at the Council of State. Does she have to now come to Council of State to cross-examine who? So that level is still premature. That's why I'm saying that it's a filtering stage, which is the same position that the ECOWAS Commission also came to. ECOWAS Court came to. That stage is not a judicial stage, it's a filtering stage. It is only after the establishment of the prima facie that you will now be given the opportunity to respond, appear, cross-examine people. But before then, you do not have the power to cross. Who are you going to cross-examine? Because you are not being allowed per Article 140 to appear before Council of State. You understand? And at that stage, the matter is with Council of State. It is only when it comes to the commission or the committee that you can appear and then do it. And you are not denied that opportunity.
I want to move to.
So we are here now.
I want to move to the Narcotics issue.
At what stage?
What you are saying is
at what stage was she denied?
So the point I was making.
No, you see, we have.
No, but allow me to explain.
No, that's my time.
Okay, finish.
You had your time.
With your presentation.
Okay,
we had a situation where she challenged. She one of her reliefs was the fact that she was not given fair trial at the ECOWAS court. She was thrown out on that relief. You are sitting here to tell Ghanaians that the ECOWAS court did not listen to her on that. So what are you telling Ghanaians? You can go ahead.
Thank you. Now, the point I was making regarding the prima facie case is that on my way here, I heard Honorable clearly say that the president was not mandated to send a copy of the petition to the CJ for her comment. However, the president did so. Honorable, did you say that?
You read to me where it says he has to do that.
Honorable, I'm saying, did you say that?
I did, and
Correct.
It's based on the law.
Correct, that's fine. You yourself, Honorable, you are contradicting yourself here.
Okay.
One leg, you say that the president was not mandated by law to do that.
Yeah.
In another leg, you are saying that the president did that, and that I should show you where in the law that is. If it is not in the law and the president did it, that is unconstitutional. Can't is that not the case?
No,
it is unconstitutional.
No.
You are saying it is not in the law, but the president did it. That means the president acted unconstitutional. So you are contradicting yourself. No, but the point I'm making. But the point I'm making is that if you are exercising executive authority or executive power, and you do anything that is not within the confines of the law or within the confines of the power you are exercising, then it means you have acted ultra vires. That is to say, you have acted in excess of the powers conferred upon you as president to to forward the petition to the Council of State to determine the prima facie case. If the law doesn't allow you to send a petition to the accused person or to whoever has been alleged to have committed certain offences, and you do so, you have acted in excess of your power. Now, the point I'm making is that Gertrude Tokono, Madam Justice Isaba Gertrude Tokono, has said times without number that during the committee sitting, I am not talking about prior to the establishment of the prima facie case, but during the committee sitting, she wasn't afforded the opportunity to cross-examine her accusers, and that remains a fact.
And the Ecowas Court disagree with her.
Madam Gertrude Tokono says that, and that is a fact. Like I'm saying, we are all yet...
The Attorney General got evidence of everything.
Honorable, have you read the Ecowas Court decision?
But
have you read
thrown it out? They've thrown it out.
Have you read it?
That bit of it has been thrown out.
Honorable, have you read it?
It's not out.
Honorable, the ruling is not out. So to say that the Ecowas Court dealt with it,
they have thrown it out.
The Ecowas Court, like I'm telling you, the Ecowas Court does not have the jurisdiction to determine the constitutionality or otherwise of the process.
About constitutionality.
Are you even aware that Madam Tokono went to the Ecowas Court before her dismissal?
Yes.
She went to the Ecowas Court. So the matter before the Ecowas Court.
And let me tell you, and let me add this to
I was quiet when you were speaking.
Make your point,
when you do this, the engagement will not be exciting.
I'll come to you for your final point.
You're an honorable member of parliament. You know that I'm not a member of parliament, but on the floor of parliament, you indulge your colleagues. Honorable, respectfully, indulge me. Honorable, render with the courtesy to render your colleagues. I beg you.
I'll come to him.
And so the point I'm making is that Madam Gertrude Tokono was not afforded the opportunity to ask her accusers fundamental questions regarding their own petition. She wasn't afforded the opportunity. Number two, Madam Gertrude Tokono went to the ECOWAS court on human rights grounds. She didn't go to the ECOWAS court for the ECOWAS court to determine the constitutionality or otherwise of her removal. Number three, it remains a fundamental point that Madam Gertrude Tokono was not treated fairly right from the onset of the process. Number five, the point remains a fact that the removal or the sequence of events leading to the removal of Madam Gertrude Tokono creates but one irresistible impression that the entire removal was shrouded in politics and not law. The removal was grounded in politics and not law. Number six, the removal of Madam Gertrude Tokono is an act that amounts to constitutional terrorism. It is a fact that the government of the day manipulated provisions of the constitution in order to achieve their political agenda. And so all these things that I'm saying, Honorable cannot dispute any of them. Cannot dispute any of them. And it is also a fact that the committee held their sittings at a national security installation instead of a judicial installation. The court complex have so many conference rooms. The Supreme Court building have so many conference rooms. They couldn't get any proper place to hold the committee sitting to remove the CJ. Other than a national security installation. What was the purpose of it? To intimidate the Chief Justice or what?
The ECOWAS court did not agree that she was treated unfairly. But I want to give you, Honorable Fatao, your final thoughts on, because you were trying to come in.
What is... he's confusing himself, because if you tell me that she was not given the right to cross-examine witnesses, and I am telling you that matter was before the ECOWAS court because it amounts to fair hearing per Article 19 of our Constitution. If you are not given the right to cross-examine, that amounts to you not being given what? Fair hearing.
No, that could honor. You see that
Please,
matter.
Can I now proceed? Just so I can get
you made me
make your point.
You understand? So now, on the issue of fair hearing, she was thrown out based on the fact that the deputy AG, and let me say a big congrats to Justice Simsai and his state attorneys. The court was of the opinion that the Attorney General produced enough evidence before them to buttress the fact that she was given fair hearing. And what is fair hearing? Look, it's a rule of natural justice. If that does not amount to constitutional interpretation, that amounts to your rights being infringed upon. And so she went there, and you have confirmed that she went there based on the certain rights that she felt were violated. And one of them was the fact that she was not given fair hearing. And it was this case that she took there. And the Supreme and the ECOWAS court agreed with the Attorney General's position, which position came with evidential value that everything they have seen point to the fact that you were given what? The opportunity to cross-examine witnesses. And even that you were meant to call 12 witnesses. And on the issue of the president having acted ultra vires, I don't even know where it's coming from. Look, if the Constitution does not provide that when I'm calling you, I should let you come alone. You understand? And you are going to be questioned. And I just want to give you added benefit. Or the Constitution says, when you are coming, when I'm calling you, I should call you alone. You should not come with somebody. And I just want to give you an added benefit and say that even though the Constitution does not say when you are coming, come with your husband. Just so you are comfortable, I give you that added benefit that come with your husband. The fact that the Constitution does not say you should come with your husband and I have made you come with your husband just because I'm giving you a better environment, better opportunity. That's not mean I'm acting ultra vires. Because the Constitution is saying that, you see, the Constitution asks us to respect the rule of natural justice.
But he's saying that if Article 146, as we see, spelled out, doesn't allow you to cross-examine, being magnanimous could have also breached the law.
So what I'm telling you is that the Constitution does not say that at the time of prima facie case, you should be made to cross-examine anybody. That is what I'm telling you. But I have not said that the Constitution has any provision which debars anybody from giving you copies of your petition for you to respond to. There's no, otherwise it would have been, the present action would have been a violation of the Constitution. There's no such provision in the Constitution.
Lawyer, let me get your final thoughts on this and we'll wrap up.
Okay, me or
no, I'm getting.
But will you give me the opportunity to respond to what Honorable has said? It's just fair. It's just fair. No, it's just fair. No, to clear the matter, Honorable, counsel, respectfully.
Please, you have 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds, and because he has the final word. Yes, please go ahead.
Just to respond and put the conversation in the proper perspective. Madam Gertrude Tokuno went to the ECOWAS court before her dismissal by the committee. The fair hearing that she alluded to in her claims before the ECOWAS court had to do with the processes leading to her suspension. These are two different things here.
I want to respond.
There were processes leading to her suspension and processes leading to her dismissal after the hearing of the committee. These are two different things. It couldn't have been the case that Madam Gertrude Tokuno went to the ECOWAS court because of her dismissal after the committee's work, because she was in the ECOWAS court while the committee were also doing their job. So it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been the case.
You know that.
I was quiet. Honorable, should
please, if you could wrap up in your 30 seconds.
And so the point here is that Madam Gertrude Tokuno did not go to the ECOWAS court because of the conclusion of the work of the committee, but she went to the court because of processes, irregular procedural processes leading to her suspension. These are two different things here.
But do you know?
Are you giving Honorable the time again?
Do you know that after the decision of the panel, do you know that Justice Alva Tokuno went back to the ECOWAS court to amend some of her reliefs? Do you know that?
Mr. Kwame Nkrumah,
I don't know whether Council you are aware of it.
Please, he has the floor.
It's true. She went to amend her reliefs.
Please, you have the floor.
I would say that it is good Justice Tokuno went to the ECOWAS court, because these court cases, even when they do not involve us, they help to regulate society and to also help us all navigate, the law. All in all, I think that this case has brought clarity to Article 146. It makes it easier to decide what to do about the Constitutional Review Committee's recommendations. Also, it sets clear boundaries for the jurisdiction, the human rights jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court, which will guide other countries in West Africa who may want to take cases there. And also it brings some closure to Ghana's judiciary and the succession of the Chief Justice, Justice Bafuboni, because this is a decision that cannot be appealed. It cannot be appealed, and I would say that it is a definite legal conclusion regarding the whole issue about her removal. As sad as I feel it is for some of us who have been to her court. I started appearing before her when she was at the commercial court. I think that time was known as the Commercial Court A also. I've forgotten, somewhere many years ago. It's an unfortunate decision, but we all learn from it, and I wish her best. I wish her all the best in the future.
I wish her all the best. Thank you very much, Mr. Kwame Nkrumah Botiu, who is a private legal practitioner. Thank you for joining us on the panel this morning. Also to you as well, Mr. Kwesi Botre, Secretary, MPP's Security and Defense Committee. Thank you very much for joining us, and of course to you as well, the Honorable Al-Hassan Fattah, Member of Parliament for Yendi and member of the NDC. Thank you as well for joining us on the panel. And well, that'll be it for the big issue this morning, but let me say that the big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast. Whether you're aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communication, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you want to advance through our dual MBA or chartered manager MBA, University Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in international relations, communication, international marketing, international law, security diplomacy, accounting, finance, or human resource management, an LLM in international law, security diplomacy, or an MA in biblical studies, practical theology, the pathway is open. Apply today, because at University of Gold Coast, we make practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. Study around your work and life, choose a route that fits your background, and pay in convenient installment. Your dream deserves structure. Your future deserves strategy. Your purpose deserves training. Apply now, www.ugc.edu.gh. You can call or WhatsApp now on 026-388-8555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. Let me also say a big thank you to Modis Outlets on the Sprinters Road for my costume this morning. Stay with us. We're back with more.